Hello, I'm Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of our paper recital program. And excuse me, today we have with us Ron Binkley, uh, an avid soul seeker, true scholar, and a dear member of our soul family who has requested to actually recite a paper on Trinity. And once Ron comes on the he can tell you more about it as why he has the paper and all that stuff. Just to tell you this briefly, Ron is actually himself is writing a book on God source, creation, cosmos, consciousness. And so, I'm delighted to have him on the show, reciting this paper. After he finishes, just as usual, you know the routine, we are going to have a discussion together in which he will pose the questions and I will try to answer his questions as best as I can. Just briefly to, not to just repeat myself, but this program, we devised this to give a service to those who either cannot read, whether they have a dyslexia or they have eye problems or they don't have proper equipment or whatever. And actually the great majority of the people who just do not spend time, they're not used to reading. So I'm hoping that this will encourage people to start reading. And of course, you have to be very selective nowadays because you don't want to just read any garbage that's on the internet. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, okay? So anyway, and also I want to thank all the participants, particularly today, Ron Binkley, who is graciously accepted to, provide also a service to the public for that reason of reading and providing a means for them to get acquainted with these papers by being read to, okay? So as I indicated, Ron is going to read a paper on Trinity, which is actually the crux of the thing. It is the beginning of everything, once, consciousness, creation certainly starts with Trinity. So we need to really understand Trinity from a much better point of view than some sort of a hypocrisy, superstition through Catholic religion and that kind of, or any kind of religion, Christianity, because they look at Trinity, but they don't really realize how important Trinity is. And that's what we were trying today to discuss and do this. So with that introduction, let me just quickly share screen and tell you where you can find these things. First of all, since we're right here, let me tell you this. I have several of these Facebook groups. That's where, I met Ron, and, there are several groups. We're trying to consolidate this into one group, which is this one, which is speaking on consciousness, creation, cosmos, a very, very appropriate topic actually for Ron's paper today reading. Okay, so if you like to join this, please do. You're going to find that on every day I will supply you with, first of all, you get all these videos, and I furnish these slides that I write for a particularly either responding to questions or sort of tutorial slides. And I think it's been pretty successful. People like that. You're going to find an ocean of information in here. And we're trying to put all these slides, which are several thousand of them that I have devised in the past 10 years, to put them on a website. And a dear member of our soul family member was graciously accepted to design a new website for us. So it will be a very good library system of this, the videos, all the papers, Okay. As just, as far as the particular paper is concerned, you can find this basically right now. There are two sources, either WordPress.com, as you can see in here. And if you go on WordPress.com, you're going to see it. I basically just use it as some kind of archival system. There are a bunch of, there's about 5 different blogs in there, but I really don't use them as blogs. They're just archival system. And any paper that you go, anything you find this menu on top, which will tell you papers on whatever, papers on human genetics, on karma, cosmos, creation, consciousness, And if you click on any of these papers, in this case, I have it on spirituality, so let's do it. It goes back to it again, and you're going to find a list of variety of papers on that subject, which if you click on it, it'll go to paper. For example, Ron is going to be reading this paper, and if you click on that, voila, it goes on this, and that's the paper that he's going to be reciting. Also, you will find these also on academia.edu. Now, I do not have all my papers in there, okay, but there's about somewhere getting close to 135, 140 papers, and I'm writing new papers all the time. So you can find, if you go to academia.edu, you can search for my name, and if you just type Mohsen P, is that adequate? Mohsen, it comes in here in the menu. And if you click on that, it goes into the list of papers, as you can see in here, okay? Which you can either search for the particular paper, and Trinity is down there, trust me, it is. The thing about academia is that it's in PDF. Some people enjoy PDF better than Word, or actually some of the papers I had in JPEG format. To tell you about a couple of other things, and this always gives me a hard time. Okay, this is we talked about that. Okay, this is a new channel that we've devised. It's called the Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi channel, a YouTube channel. I have an older channel that I have not used for about 5 years. They have bunch of interviews with different sources and all this stuff, but these are all the new ones. Specifically, you see, these are all the papers that have been recited during the past couple of weeks. Okay, the very last one is this one, which I haven't even posted yet. This is the one with Rudy and so on and so forth. And tomorrow, probably you're going to see Ron's paper. It's right here. It's going to be up here. So through this, you can go through this and watch these, videos anytime you wish. So without further ado, I think what I will do is stop share screen, and I will give the screen to Ron, and I'm looking forward to his recital, and also having a discussion with him regarding anything that can help him with his writing his book, or any questions for his own awakening, enlightenment, and also for enlightenment of the public. So with that introduction, let's just give the podium to Ron Binkley. There you go, Ron.
Well, thank you so much, Mohsen. Really appreciate that introduction and all of the work that you've been doing and your beautiful service to others. Thank you so much. We agreed to the subject of Trinity because it's a beginning overview that leads into so many other papers that you've written. And for me personally, I was raised in the United States in an international family that we were very fortunate in that our parents taught us to accept all cultures in the world. And we had people from all over the world live with us. And my father was a professor and my mother was very open to other cultures. And this word Trinity is paramount in most cultures of Earth. And being raised in the Christian religion, we have our own definition of that, but I've never felt totally comfortable with that. And as I woke up to so many other things, especially after the 9/11 event in the United States, it got me to really dig into, who we are, where we came from, God, what the definition of God is, and also I do have some engineering background like you do and mathematical, and I got very drawn into the quantum mechanics and understanding a lot of vibration and energy, and it just opened up my eyes, and I learned something new every single day. And that's how I stumbled upon you and your website, I believe, with Facebook. And it just has been wonderful. I've read so many of your papers and watched some of your videos that you've already put together, and they're just very mind-opening and heart-opening. So with that said, I'll just start reading it. This is a paper called Trinity by Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi, doctorate. And the abstract is, it's a discussion of the most fundamental characteristics of Trinity that pertains to the question of our existence has been presented. The discussion addresses such subjects that include the very concept of life, animation, and vibration, together with the phenomenon of light, question of genderism, the advent of cosmological time and spatiality, constitution as matter-antimatter, the concept of dimensions, and anchoring one's consciousness within such dimensions. It is concluded that Trinity is governed by an essential requirement of creation referred to by the author as a dualism principle of creation that asserts everything and every event must be created as conjugate pairs to ensure balance, longevity, and order in the cosmos. The introduction, the term Trinity is something that in both religious and metaphysical literature is associated with the prime creator or the God source, and it is rightly so, and I agree with that. However, its true meaning is utterly distorted, especially in Christianity. I also agree with that. Trinity being associated with the number 3 does not mean there are 3 gods or even 3 different aspects of God, as may be described by the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. First of all, in all earth literature and in the religious connotation, the role of a male or masculine gender is utterly exaggerated. God does not have a gender, nor if it/God did, it would be masculine or male in a domineering sense. This is all the construct of negative aliens who mind control us, who strongly believe in masculinity as to signify power or strength, burliness or muscularity, or in fact, utter physicality. Just to go back to the term negative aliens, I know for me, I had to get used to a lot of new language over this course of study. For example, God/source/prime creator. I was always comfortable with the term God. I'm now more comfortable with the term source, and certainly with prime creator. With the term negative aliens, for me, that was fallen angels, because that was the terminology I was accustomed to. But that opens up the concept of spirituality or other dimensions or other vibrational entities. But negative aliens is a term that is all conclusive of, it embraces many different types of entities. It is the creed of the negative aliens who have subscribed to and indeed strongly accepted that female or femininity is synonymous with weakness and vulnerability. And this represents the very foundation for the practice of misogyny and male chauvinism on this planet. Throughout the history, humanity has stooped to the barbaric practice of being so ashamed of its female form that has led to the massacre or killing of its counterpart gender, or offering them readily for other goods or services as if they were something to be traded or discarded as undesirables. Yet, humanity has sickly embarked on using its female counterpart as something to toy with as sex objects and indulge with lustful practices that has yet epitomized another distasteful, derailed sense of misogyny and extreme abuse. And this is all due to the negative alien construct as typified by a brutal, beastly, subhuman, or reptilian trait. In the eyes of God, both male and female genders are equal and definitely of the same value. What is commonly referred to as male or female gender merely describes a way of facilitating reproduction or multiplicity. In fact, both male and female counterparts have a mixture of feminine and masculine energies that are offset by only a minute portion, making one to manifest as a male or female form. Thus, no one is purely male or female in the energetic sense that drives our consciousness. And the so-called Holy Ghost describes the divine feminine as the sun refers to divine masculine. Neither is dominant or superior over the other. In fact, the two aspects are symbiotic in nature that are created in such a way that the onset of creation of one simultaneously triggers the inception of the other. The two are interdependent on one another without the possibility of eternal existing of one without the other. Anything to the contrary is anti-creational and vain. This is what has caused so much concern among the Greys and other negative aliens who, by having resorted to cloning and such as to eradicate their female sex altogether, have brought themselves to a point of definite extinction. The point on the Greys is they're just one of many different types of negative aliens. Mohsen, I understand there are actually some Greys that have got positive energy, but I'm not sure of that. In reality, the concept of Trinity has to do with bringing the omnipotent, omniscient God out of its state of conscious energy, saturation, and infinite frequency of vibration, singularity, discontiguity, and thriving in utter stillness. The way it can once again vibrate in time as to connote life in our vernacular and perception by expressing itself once again through its self-similar, fractalized, hologramic offspring that are referred to as sentient beings such as us, humans. And all of us as sentient beings are in essence a co-creator, companions of God or the prime creator that are bestowed upon the task of consciousness expansion as to function at its consciousness generators. In fact, everything epitomizes a constituent part of the whole that we refer to as the prime creator. This is what we commonly refer to as the cosmos, that in reality epitomizes the very body of the God. In this respect, God once again recalled what may be referred to as spatiality. And although it still retains its full state of omnipresence, being everywhere at all times and being constantly self-aware of all that transpires in its within, it actually still thrives in the eternal now without sensing any time progression in our convention of vernacular. That whole concept of, first of all, it being God is, you choose the word it because it encapsulates a terminology that captures everything, not just female, male, or what we've been trained in a lot of our cultures. The other thing is the eternal now of time and space is another thing you've written many papers on. In essence, what the process of Trinity accomplished is that it gave God the possibility to once again vibrate in time that epitomizes a scheme of expanding and contracting in time as the palpitation of our own heart signifies life and animation. Thus, the expression, we are all created in its image. And by devising the scheme or methodology of Trinity, God's neutral quanta of intelligent, crystalline, coherent energy split as to create expansive and contractive components, giving rise to a mechanism of palpitation, vibration, beating through an exhalation, breathing out, and an inhalation, breathing in, procedure. Note the term expansion-contraction is reflective of elucidating that in order to conceptualize and give rise to the inception of creation, God had to explode and implode upon itself. And I remember watching one of your other videos recently where you're explaining like the corkscrew of a wine bottle going in versus coming out, and that being the female and male expansion and contraction. In order to facilitate the process of in order to facilitate the process of spatiality, a modicum of the God quanta of energy consciousness converted into constitution, and the advent of constitution is facilitated by the process of congealment of the quanta of energy that gives rise to the concept of space. Being divided into the matter-antimatter constituents, these constitutive quanta of energy form the fabric of what is commonly referred to as space that could sequentially expand and contract in time to emulate the process of vibration as to signify an exhalation-inhalation process. Note that in this respect, the concept of time is synonymous with the act of free flow of the quanta of energy. And this process of free flow is facilitated through an act of rotating, spinning about the central source of explosion-implosion, which epitomizes what and where it all came from. In this respect, the source refers to the original incipient progenitor that as a fountain of energy of consciousness created everything. Note that it is prudent to say that everything that is created constitutes a part of the source and thus must inevitably return to the source to retain its status of uniqueness, oneness as the whole. And the way this may be envisioned to occur is through a gravitational process of rotating, spinning about the source that ensures contraction towards the center of rotation spin that is the source. Thus, the concept of time is synonymous with the act of rotation spinning about the source that occurs by a form of a free flow. And it is clear that rotation spinning about the central source can occur in counterclockwise manner. In this respect, counterclockwise rotation spinning gives the tendency for expansion, while clockwise rotation spinning, gives a propensity for contraction about the source. Thus, time is directional in nature that facilitates the process of vibration, beating, or exhalation, inhalation, as described earlier. This points to the fact that the creation of the space is carried out in a dual manner with the constitution as its fabric forming simultaneously as matter and antimatter. In this respect, matter refers to the constitutive fabric of space that are formed via its quanta of energy spinning, rotating about the central source in a counterclockwise manner as to effect expansion. On the other hand, antimatter refers to the constitutive fabric of space that are formed via its quanta of energy spinning, rotating about the central source in a clockwise manner as to effect contraction. And expansion contraction is effectuated due to the directional nature of time that can progress in counterclockwise, positive by conventionally positive, or clockwise, conventionally negative manner, giving rise to a scheme of vibration. Thus, it is prudent to speak of a collective concept referred to as space-time, also referred to as a dimension, as opposed to space that occupies the same location. Thus, you may be in the same location in space, yet a different location in time that epitomizes the concept of a dimension. And you have many other papers that talk about all the different dimensions. Thus, you may be in the same location in space, yet a different location in time that epitomizes the dimension, concept of a dimension. The fact that one can occupy the same space, yet a different time, has motivated the author to propose the cosmological essential law of spatial cohabitation, which illustrates the very essence of the concept of a dimension. Furthermore, it is clear that such space-time dimensions are formed simultaneously in a conjugate form, in which case one mirrors the other in terms of time progression. And this concept is what the authors referred to as the phenomenon of conjugate or mirrored dimensional spacetimes. Since the quanta of energy associated with the two fabrics of conjugate or mirrored spacetimes as matter-antimatter or vice versa are created simultaneously together, with one epitomizing, rotating, spinning counterclockwise, and the other clockwise about the central source, they are said to be quantumly entangled with one another. This has motivated the proposal for another cosmological law referred to as the cosmological law of the entanglement of the conjugate or mirrored dimensional spacetime. Note that the concept of quantum entanglement is very well understood in the context of quantum mechanics, quantum chemistry, and quantum physics, which is often illustrated by the half spinning of two electrons counter-rotating one another while occupying the same energetic orbital. It has been experimentally verified that also include other energetic particles such as protons, photons, etc. It is concluded that if one separates two electrons that once occupied an orbital, and no matter by how far of a distance, as soon as one electron is again allowed to spin, say clockwise, the other one immediately begins to counterspin the former, i.e. counterclockwise, about the same axis of configuration as the former. Thus, the cosmos, as the body of the prime creator, is comprised of an intricate structure composed of a series of nested conjugate or mirrored spacetimes dimensions arranged as energetic contours, with each spacetime being characterized by the outer and inner curved surfaces of respective concave and convex morphonology of their own characteristic curvature. In this respect, each spacetime dimension corresponds to a particular energetic contour of its own characteristic extent of consciousness. And no matter how you look upon the concept of dimensional consciousness, be it from the point of frequency, light quotient, or propinquity, it goes to say that the extent of consciousness associated with the nested spacetime dimensions diminishes as one expands away from the central source, i.e. with less propinquity, approaching the outer bounds of the cosmos. Furthermore, it is prudent to say that there is such a phenomenon that suggests that the rate of progression of time or apparent frequency must be higher in the world of antimatter, the world below, or the inner world, than its conjugate world of matter, the world above, or the outer world. It is of interest to elucidate herein that through explosion-implosion of the source upon itself as to create expansive-contractive quanta of consciousness energy, respectively, the source transforms itself into a form of electromagnetic energy that is referred to as light of consciousness. In this respect, the expansive quanta of energy perceived as being the male or the father principle that are envisioned as to have an electric quality are said to form the basis for the phenomenon of electricity. In contrast, the contractive quanta of energy perceived as being the female or the mother principle that are envisioned as to have a magnetic quality are said to form the foundation of the phenomenon of magnetism. Furthermore, the two quanta of expansive, male or electric, and the contractive, female or magnetic energy are formed symbiotically together, creating two distinct fields of energy that are mutually orthogonal together. These components of expansive, male or electric, and contractive, female or magnetic, can neither be formed independently nor can exist alone and purely by themselves only. This concept of symbiotic and interdependent, yet contrasting existence, forms the basis of what the authors referred to as the dualism principle of creation, which essentially states that everything and every event in the cosmos are created to exist or transpire as conjugate pairs. And examples of the dualism principle of creation are many that include the advent of expansive, male or electric, and contractive, female or magnetic, quantum energy together with their implied concept of electricity, magnetism, male-female genderism, the concept of space and time, as well as the directionality nature of time, giving rise to the advent of particles-antiparticles, matter-antimatter, conjugate space times, vibration, quantum consciousness, etc. Finally, it needs to be explicated herein that the dualism of principle creation, fundamentally epitomized by the necessity of Trinity as to create all that there is and transpires in conjugate pairs, has the underlying function as to ensure balance, longevity, and order within the cosmos. And that's it.
That's the whole paper.
So thank you. Here's a wonderful paper. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So to me, it explains quite a lot. It's one of those papers, if you read it 2 or 3 times, you can really absorb it. The male and female energy is interesting. I would like you to sort of expand upon how God source and that male female energy create the Trinity.
How it creates Trinity?
Well, it's symbiotic, and it's the 3 in 1 of God, female, and male energy, correct?
Right. Well, initially speaking, God is neutral, okay, and also actually singular. Singular means just one thing, not connected to anything else. It's self-contained, okay? So what it does, it explodes upon itself to form a Trinity as a way of multiplication, which, we know as procreation, and also disseminating its energy throughout what becomes cosmos, because initially it's just void. There's nothing. There's darkness, there's no light, there's no matter, antimatter, no space, no time, no sentient being, nothing. It's an abyss, okay? And once this happens, this like a light work, this the neutral quanta of energy, explode, implode upon themselves, that they create the expansive, electric, magnetic, what is it, female or contractive, then you have a system. You have offsprings of God. It gives rise to the cosmos, which creates its own body, and it goes from a singular point. Okay, singular. By the way, singular in terms of mathematics, it means something that's not connected to anything else. Like at the tip of a crack, singularity. You're okay, Ron.
Yeah, I get it. I just was having technical issues with my phone holding a charge. I get it. I just wanted you to expand on that thought process. And from a mathematical perspective, and I've listened to some of your other papers, I believe our culture has been put into educated in a decimal system of 10. And I believe you talked about 12 and possibly even 13, but I believe it's 12, right?
Yeah.
Is
in that, when you see, the first thing that you were talking about applies to the entire cosmos. And if you recall, on many papers, I've mentioned the 356
right.
discrete, dimensions or space-times, which is kind of like a nested system, right? It's like nested spiral system. It's kind of like the Matryoshka Russian dolls that fit inside each other. Okay, so it creates a cosmos like this, and as you go away from the center, everything, the light dims, consciousness dims, the rotation of the quanta of energy, reduces, diminishes. Okay, and you get different dimensional system with quanta of energy that coming together, a conglomerate set, form a sentient being, anchor themselves there, okay? So basically, God creates a neural network for itself. It's all 0-point field, okay? But a conscious being can anchor itself to that and starts vibrating about it, okay? And as long as it gets out of the 0-point field, it has polarity, it has gender, male or female. Are you with me?
Yes.
So, by the way, the one thing that you want to realize is that this male, female sexuality, all this nonsense that we talk about here, we are actually, nobody's male, nobody's female. We have both male and female in us, but we are biased in one or the other type of energies. You and me, we're more biased towards electric, expansive, you know, as a transmitter of energy, you know. Females become quite the opposite, magnetic, contractive, and receptive of energy. So it forms a system that has a balance, but they're symbiotic. Each one depends on the other. Really genetic equals, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The other thing through this conjugate space-time, I've shown that you have a male or female in here. Every male has a counterpart in a conjugate system, which is the other side of the time. You know, time is bi-directional. They never meet. It's a stealth. One becomes physical, the other one becomes, say, ethereal. Okay? And so you, for a male, you have a female. That's your twin self. So if you are 55-45, the other one is 45-55.
Right.
As a percentage of male and female. So we all have masculine and feminine within us, and you can see that in the you know, society. You see
Right.
females who are very aggressive, very dominant, very, you know, electric in nature. And of course, you see females who are, you know, quite the opposite. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It doesn't mean they're less intelligent or anything like this, but it's just the way that their energies are portrayed. And we, the opposite. And the extent of the thing is that we like those delicious female energies. And I'm sure if you're female, you think those delicious male energies.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to come in and have an experience in this space-time, have sojourns of life, and share it with each other. So we have light body system, that's our consciousness, you know, layers of our consciousness. So we share together. We share our lives, we protect ourselves, we secure ourselves. We have a beautiful experience, which is thriving for enlightenment, consciousness expansion that brings spiritual prosperity, everything. That's actually law of one.
Right.
If you abide by law of one, you will get what you want. But unfortunately, the negative aliens have come in, they defied law of one, and finally they got kicked out. They basically severed their connection with God. Now, in other papers, I talk about sentient vibration, how we're connected to God. Well, actually, interfaces with what you said, that we're like attached through an umbilical cord, which is like a spring. Okay, it's actually, you know what I'm saying, torsionally
Right.
vibrates. Are you with me? They
Yes, sir.
back because they extended. If you put a weight at the end of a spring and let it vibrate, if you pull it, vibrate too much, finally the spring is going to break. And if it breaks, that umbilical cord is detached, and then you become fallen. Then you're on your own. Because as long as you're attached to this, you expend the energy, you come back for more. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
And here you can't come back for more. So you're out in the cold. So either you're going to have to self-consume, eat yourself like a snake eating its tail,
Right.
Or you
Ouroboros.
attach yourself being a nuisance, as a parasitic being, live on the energies of others who are connected to God. And that's what's happened to us.
Right.
Because those guys defied the law of one. They became expansionists, they narcissistic, became psychopaths, all war, all male, male is not bad if you look at it correctly, but if you look at it as male as just a dominator, a tyrant, all physical brawn and warlike stuff and violence and stuff like this, that's what they became and that's what they are. So they have no life now. So what they're doing, their life is delusional. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They take the energy that we have, they digitize it, and they've formed this AI system, which is supposed to be parallel to organic, which is nothing parallel, because an organic system stays by itself forever, especially if it's not disturbed. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But an AI system is like a robot. Okay, if it doesn't plug in, done, dead, runs out of energy. But we are constantly supplied through God, through that, which gives rise to, you read about breathing and palpitating, and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
All that stuff.
So my understanding is that our vibration, we've been getting a lot of help from God source energies in Earth and humanity and sentient beings here from higher realms. What is your take on that? And the negative entities, a lot of them are being sent back or being disconnected from our dimension.
The light beings have this tremendous light quotient. Okay, they're potent. Not a single one of them could reincarnate or incarnate on the planet. They have to step down, transmute their, you know what I'm saying, then bring a portion of their quanta of energy to create, they are among us right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they've come here for the first time to teach, to help, to whatever, to service, to give a service and whatever, and so they have this potent energy. Now, these potent energies are helping us. First of all, they brought a lot of high consciousness to us, which we didn't have, which was reversed, distorted, damaged, okay, and made us in a sleep. We were sedated, like vampire sedates their victims so they can feed on it again, right?
Right.
So we're waking up. And once we wake up, of course, they can't feed on you after that. The other thing is that the energies are so potent, they're just zapping these AI systems. They're just like acid. They're destroying them.
Great.
Also, the light beings, the guardian founders, which I talked about, they have come in here through, the indigos, star seeds, there are ascended masters in here. There's even guardian in here. They're guardians. Okay, they're not very, it's very unusual. But anyway, they're here, and some of these are in the field. Okay, I don't go in the field, for example. I'm an educator. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they go in the field to do grid work. So they have brought down the infrastructure of this AI technology, because without AI technology, they have no lifeline. They have no life anyway, in an organic sense, right?
Right.
The fact of just getting plugged in and having a miserable existence, you know what I'm saying? Because they've got all this expansionism, stealing, pillaging, all this stuff. They're parasites. They're running for things they're hunter-gatherers in the worst parasitic way, basically. And even if they have technologies that they look impressive, they're stupid still. You know, some of the crop circles that they come in, you see it's the work of a very, very advanced, you know, technological system, right?
Right.
When you think of binary stuff and mathematics, but when you look at it in terms of consciousness, really true sense of intuitive intelligence, they're empty. You know, when you understand the crop circle, what the message is telling you. So technology is not consciousness. Now, if you have good consciousness, you can use technology to good use.
Right.
But they have technologies as a way of survival. Because without that technology, they can't, you know, they have to steal the magnetic energy, send it to their black hole, keep it in their Moloch tank, so they can go back in there, convert it back into their miserable way of existence and live on. Again, live, I should use the word very, I always say exist. It is used very loosely because that's not living. To me, it's not living, you know?
So from your perspective, how do you see the progress going on Earth with all of our sentient beings? There's an awakening going on for sure. And people are searching, and that's how people have found you and others that are helping us understand who we are, where we came from, and what our life's all about with free will and connection to God. But how do you envision this unfolding?
They have done miracles from the Guardian founders. I mean, first of all, it's not just the old Guardian founders. They have so much help from God's worlds, higher God's worlds, because, you know, there's 7 layers of God's worlds. You know that I call them super universes. Have you seen that paper? The 7 new super universes, which actually metaphysics has talked about the 7 higher heavens. It's not a big deal.
Right, 7 heavens, 7 higher heavens.
Except I've gone to the quantum mechanics of it, and from tensor equations you can show that there are 84 dimensions involved in there, 7 times 12. Okay, each 12 dimension. By the way, let's go back to your thing. That was a very good question. If each 12 dimension creates a physical system. Okay, it's 12. It's not 10.
Right.
Okay, but what they did through this AI technology, they came up with it, and it's getting more complicated. I think we should stop talking about it because there are many other papers, you know, because it goes on and on and on, everything.
Right.
Okay, but just to answer your question, there's such a thing as Metatronic reversal system. It steals the magnetic energy, so it separates you from the 0-point field. Instead of expanding, coming back to it, you come back a little closer. And then you come a little farther, a little farther. That's why you age and die. Okay? Meanwhile, they steal some of your energy and put it in their Moloch tank. So they become like Leviathan. That's why, you know, you got such thing called Fibonacci. They misuse Fibonacci, that each number is the addition of the past 2 numbers. It's like going and devouring, getting bigger, devouring, getting bigger, because they eat part of your magnetic energy, and not just you, all the organic being, not even humans, just all the organic.
Right.
And then they spiral out. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So when you do that, you actually get 10 instead of 12 dimensions. In fact, what the negative aliens did right away when they came to Nebadan universe, which was a perfect, you know, first heaven, basically, they destroyed the 3 stargates, 10, 11, 12, which were at Vega, Avian, Armaten. And you've probably seen that in some of the papers of Stargates.
Right. I have.
So they destroyed that. When they destroyed that, they created basically a ring of fire a hole that you couldn't go through to the higher universes. So they cut us off. They made us a bi-wave closed energetic system. That's why we get entropy. That's why we die. The aging, the diseases, all is a result of AI technology. You know what I'm saying? And then later, they devised the AI technology by using the Metatronic collectives who actually want to help them to re-encrypt them, to correct them so they come back to organic, but they use them. They're the oppressors, you know, they use them, they put them in prison. They started, torturing them, and they make this AI technology for them or with them. So this Metatronic reversal runs on a 10 sphere basis, not 12. And you see it actually in Jewish faith. The Sephiroth. Right. The Sephiroth is a 10 sphere, not 12. You need 12 sphere. So then base 12 mathematics in the old Atlantis changed into a base 10 mathematics. Otherwise, we would go to, everything was 12. Because 12 is a divine number, not 10. The divine numbers are actually 1, 3, 7, and 12. And they can go higher. And then factors of 12, 24, 36, whatever. So that's why everything went to 10. They changed our consciousness. They reversed our consciousness. So we don't think in terms of 12, think of 10. That's why some of these scientists out there, you know, in quantum mechanics, they talk about 10 dimensions. They can't stretch to 12 dimensions. And there are 356 dimensions anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing. First time I heard you talk about 356, it was mind blowing.
Even in reality, there are 84. There's, 12 is our universe, which we're at the edge. We're at the skin of cosmos.
Well, I've really appreciated the opportunity to be with you today and to be part of your, I'll call it a movement, moving forward with a group of people that are like-minded. It's wonderful to be part of a group that is opening their minds to all the different things that are been hidden from us for eons. So it's a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, my friend. You're a very, very special soul. I don't know how long you've been a member of our soul family, but you've been very, very visible and through your comments, and very insightful. Delighted to have you here, and I thank you thoroughly for the service that you showed. I hope you got something out of it yourself, and you're welcome to come anytime you want.
Well, great. Love to meet with other people too that are like-minded. And with that, I think we'll call it an end and wrap it up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think so. It's about time. Thank you very much. So,
namaste and many blessings to you and your family.
And you too. You too. And I would like to say thank you for the audience, and I hope that it will help them to some extent. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.